Today we are talking old money books. If you are looking for a book to fit the vibe of the old money aesthetic, then this video is for you. So in terms of books that are old money, we're really talking about the vibe. We're really talking about the overall theme or a family member that is old money. We're talking about the experiences that you might get if you were extremely wealthy. Or it might even be from a point of view of someone that is not wealthy at all and gets to experience it with a friend or is brought into this lifestyle. All of the books I'm about to mention cover an array of different situations that you could be in to experience this in a whole different way. Okay. I think that's enough explaining. Okay, so the first book I'm going to mention, and I know people are going to get so mad I'm mentioning this book because I mentioned it in a previous old money video and everyone was like, that is not old money. You're wrong. And you know what I have to say to that? It's the first book on this list, okay? And that's The Great Gatsby. Now, I'm well aware that Jay Gatsby is not actually old money. He is trying to be old money. He's faking it to win the love of his life. But that being said, if you like old money and you're dressing a certain way to portray a certain aesthetic, aren't you faking it too? Is this like the guidebook for old money? It should be. So I think this has to be on the list. And I don't care what anyone says, say what you want. It's still considered old money because you're still getting the vibes of it. You're still getting those activities, those experiences. You're getting the way that he dresses, the house that he lives in, the things that he does. That is still old money, whether it's new. It's still portraying old money. This book is about Jay Gatsby, who tries to win the love of his life by becoming extremely wealthy, the wealthiest man in New York City, in hopes to win his old love over. It's a really amazing story. It's also a little bit sad, but if you do read this, I recommend watching the movie after because Leonardo DiCaprio is the best Jay Gatsby ever, and I'm obsessed with that movie. I mean, living in that kind of world during the 1920s and getting all those Art Deco vibes, you just can't beat it. The next book is Crazy Rich Asians, and this book takes place in Singapore. They also visit Hong Kong, and it's incredible, to say the least. The story follows a girl named Rachel who is dating a boy named Nick, and he comes from a extremely old money, wealthy family in Singapore. So wealthy that they have like their own city in Singapore, and they're like the richest people there. And he's never told his girlfriend about his family's wealth. He never mentioned it. So when she goes to Singapore to meet his family for the first time, she is blown away by who he is and who his family is. In this book, you get to experience not only extremely old money, but you also get to experience some of the family members that are very new money, very flashy with what they buy, what they wear, and you get to see the extreme differences between the two, which is really funny because new money is always compared to like the Kardashians. They dress very flashy, they like labels, they want people to know they have money. But when you look at people like, I'm sorry, I have to go back to the royals in London, they do not dress flashy at all. They dress very basic. They dress very classy, put together, but if you saw them walking down the street, you would not think these people have a ton of money. Yeah, you really get to see the difference between those two types of people, which is interesting. But I think of all the books I'm mentioning here, this probably goes into the most detail of old money. I mean, the other ones also go into detail, but this one really goes into detail of very specific things and experiences that maybe you want to consider when thinking about this aesthetic. Okay, the next book is The Inheritance Games, and this is a series. There are 3 books: The Inheritance Games, The Hawthorne Legacy, and The Final Gambit. This is a really good book specifically because the point of view of it is very authentic and is relatable to the normal person. And it's about a girl named Avery who comes from not much, and she ends up inheriting billions of dollars from a man she has never met a day in her life. But in order for her to inherit this money, she has to live on the estate of the man who died in Texas with all of his family, who, might I add, he did not pass down a lot of money to his family members, and some of them got nothing. So imagine living with a family for a year that might want you killed because they have nothing now. Not only is this a really good portrayal of rags to riches, but it's also a lot of fun to read because there is lots of games and mysteries in this, and it's a little dark academia as well. So if you're a fan of DA, it's a book I would recommend, but it also has old money in there too. So I wanted to put it on this list as well because it's something that is very prevalent in all three books. Plus, if you like this one, you can read the next one and the next one, and then you just got like a continuation of old money books. The next book is Bridgerton. So if you're looking for a historical Regency romance based in the 1800s, then this is the book that you want to read. And also it's old money. Like old money. Original OG old money. So the specific book I'm talking about is The Duke and I, and there are a bunch of books in this series. So if you like this one, you can just keep reading and keep getting all of these old money vibes. But there's also a Netflix series that's based off of each one of these books in a season. So if you like the book, you can go watch the show. Or you can just watch the show if you don't want to read the book. Bridgerton, The Duke and I is about Daphne who has to get married. And back in the day, you wanted to get married off to the highest suitor, meaning someone that was in higher society, someone that was very wealthy, because that way you could support your family and it would also give your family a higher status. So she ends up meeting a bunch of guys, not liking any of them, and decides to start fake dating the Duke of Hastings. And we love a fake dating trope, at least I do. And of course they go from fake dating to real dating to other things. And you gotta love it. You gotta love it. But there is a very interesting scene in this book that is very questionable. And I'm shocked it's in there. And I'm shocked that it's also in the Netflix series. Like, they did not take it out because it's very disturbing. So just to note that. But in terms of old money, I mean, it fits the bill for everything that the aesthetic is. And if you're wanting those vibes, this is the book to read. The next book is American Royals, and just imagine if George Washington got a crown and became king instead of a president. And we are living in that world today, and that's exactly what it is. So it's about a girl named Beatrice that has to find a suitor. She's going to become the first queen of America. Saying that out loud just sounds really weird. You definitely get the old money royal family experiences, but based here in America. It is a romance overall. So you get a romance that's not a typical romance. You get the princess, the queen-to-be, falling for someone she should not be falling for, that is not as high up as she is, and how she deals with it. I thought the love story was great. I love anything where you read about, royals, and the fact that it takes place in America was an interesting twist. The next book is The Thousandth Floor. And this book was really interesting. This is based in a futuristic New York City in this 1000th floor building. And pretty much where you're located on the levels depends where you are in society. So the lower level is for the poor. The higher up you go, the more wealthy you are. And in the prologue of this book, you find out that a girl has jumped to her death from the rooftop of the 1000th floor building, and you don't know who it is. Then the book begins by following 5 different characters that all vary in different social status and wealth, and all of the events that take place leading up to this tragedy. And you do not know if you're following someone that jumped or not. It's definitely sci-fi. It's more on the sci-fi side, but it is a sci-fi old money book. Yeah, it's a little bit different of a recommendation, I would say, but it was a really good book. The next book is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and also A Family of Liars, which is new, and that is the prequel to this one. This book is about the Sinclair family, and the Sinclair family is a family of liars, as you can tell by the title of the book. It's about a family that goes to their private island off the coast of Massachusetts with their cousins and other family members and friends, and they spend the summer there just vacationing, hanging out, doing fun things. And then one summer, something crazy happens, which you don't really know what it is, and everything changes. The dynamic between the family completely changes, and I cannot tell you anything more about it because it would just ruin the entire book, because this whole book is about the ending. So you have to read the book just to get to the ending to know what is going on, but I promise you it's worth it. So I'm not going to say anything else about it, But I will say that it definitely fits the theme. Overall, it does. You get to see a different side of old money again. I feel like each one of these books takes you through different experiences. And this is one where you get to see them vacationing. And you get to see what they're like with their friends and family and those interactions and having your own private island and what that looks like. And you also get a friend that is there that isn't super wealthy and how he interacts with the family and how the family portrays him because of his lack of wealth. And it's really good. I don't know what else to say. It's really good. It kind of reminds me of an extension of The Secret History just because they have nights of drinking and doing crazy things. It's a tight-knit group, okay? So if you're a fan of that, read it. Okay, now the last 3 books I'm going to recommend I have not read, but I have watched many videos on these books, and I feel like I can recommend them because everyone says they're good. And I'm done recommending books that say they're bad, but I recommend them because the storyline says that it's spot on to an aesthetic, but then I end up reading it later and I don't like it and I'm bummed I recommended it to you. Yeah, that's not happening this time, Black Chalk. That's not happening. I'm going to recommend to you books that are good. So the first book is Fake Empire. I know this book is a romance and it's heavily based in the themes of old money, but I'm going to read you the synopsis just so it's a little more clear. There's rich, then there's the Ellsworth family, the Kensingtons. Money buys power and power always has a price. The fear of those who already possess both, losing it. The best way to ensure keeping it, alliances. And elites don't marry down, they marry equal. For Scarlett Ellsworth and Crew Kensington, that leaves one option, each other. It was meant to be a union for better and for business. Instead, it challenges everything Scarlett and Crew thought they knew about themselves, their families, and most of all, each other. That's a pretty vague synopsis, if I'm being honest. But I really loved the cover of this book. You look at the cover and you're like, oh, New York, old money, yes. And if this book doesn't take place in New York, why is it on the cover? Because I just said New York, but what if it's actually not in New York? Wait, I should look this up. Okay, I looked it up. I can't find if it's actually in New York, but I'm pretty sure it is. And I love books that take place in New York in general, but when I think of old money, probably because of Gossip Girl, I also think of New York. And the last books I would like to recommend on this list are the Dreamland Billionaires series. And Dreamland Billionaires doesn't say it all. I don't know what does. There are 3 books, and the 3 books follow 3 brothers. But in order to inherit their billions of dollars, they are all assigned with one task given to them by their dead grandfather that they have to complete in order to receive their inheritance. Each book you are following the task they are given. From what I've read, you do not have to read these in any specific order because they are all individually their own story. There is a timeline, I'm sure, but it's not really important. You can read these in whatever order you would like. So the first one I wanted to recommend is The Fine Print, and this is the first one of the series. And this one follows the brother who is tasked with renovating Dreamland, and Dreamland is the equivalent of Disneyland. So imagine 3 brothers owning that and how rich they would be. And yeah, so as he is renovating it, he ends up hiring someone that he falls for, and that's kind of the plot of the story, is this romantic relationship that comes from a business relationship, and the guy's a billionaire. So I don't know if it's kind of over the top, like he buys her a car in 50 Shades of Grey sort of thing, but I'm assuming there are going to be moments like that for sure, and I'm excited to read it. The other book by her is Terms and Conditions, and for this book we follow another brother who is tasked with getting married in order to inherit his family's media empire. This romance is a sunshine grumpy trope. It also has a big age gap in this romantic relationship, and it's an office romance. I'm curious to read about a similar storyline to what I've read before, but with an age gap. I'm wondering how those characters are going to be written out, because I'm pretty sure the girl's 24 and the guy's 36. Is she super mature? Is he really immature? Does he like to have fun? Like, how does this work exactly? I know it's not that big of an age gap, because once you reach a certain age, it's kind of like it doesn't really matter anymore, but it's a decent gap in age. And just to note, from the reviews that I have read, everyone says this book is better than The Fine Print, but I personally like the idea of renovating something that's equivalent to Disneyland, and in my head I thought that would be a really good book to read. and I would enjoy it. And the last book, which is the final book of the series, is Final Offer, and this follows the most unhinged brother of the three who has been struggling with addiction for over a decade. It is a romance novel. It is like a second chances, enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, single parent trope. But of course, you are going to get the old money vibes in this as well, along with the romance. So they're all romance novels. This entire series is romance taking place in a billionaires' old money world. And that is it. That is it for all of the books on my list. I wanted to make sure I only recommended mostly books I have actually read, just because I hate recommending something and you reading it and it's awful because I didn't read it myself, you know? So hopefully the 3 books I recommended that I haven't read you enjoy. And if there are any other books that fit this theme, let me know in the comments. Let everyone know in the comments. I would love to hear some more. I do have a huge list in my phone actually of more books. There's probably about 30 of them, but I'm trying only to recommend books I've read, and it's a lot of books to read, you know, so I'm trying. Anyways, thanks so much for hanging out with me today while I talked books, and I will see you guys in the next one.